All right, we're back, and it's COMP228, and it's week 4, lesson 4, part 2. We did kind of a part 1 earlier today because we also had a bit of a quiz, right? So, if I'm not wrong, anyway, let's take a look at my video manager. And yeah, and that's okay, but we want to go over the rest of the PowerPoint presentation today and kind of go over the key points. Can't cover everything, and not everything applies because some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about may not be so useful for you. I was also looking at assignment number 3, but I think I'm going to put it off until next week. I'll tell you why. I want to reformat it a little bit. The one I received, right? Because we kind of have a package that sometimes we get if we haven't done this. Isn't the first time we've done it. I'm going to put together something else because I like it and I don't like it. I like it because it is it's challenging, but I don't like it because it's not accurate. Like it doesn't give you a lot of direction, just like last time, right? So what ends up happening is you end up there's not a lot of direction of what to do, and it's based on what we're going to be doing is we're creating something for polymorphism and inheritance, right? So we're going to cover inheritance and polymorphism, both topics next week. So that's a perfect time to kind of give it out, right? Because you haven't even covered this stuff yet here. I mean, you can probably do it if you've done C# and you know about inheritance and polymorphism. But there's some idiosyncrasies that we kind of cover off for Java that's slightly different. So I'm going to give it to you next week. I'll try and give it to you in the beginning of the week. So let's say, or the beginning of the first part of the day, and then it'll be due a couple weeks out. So it'll probably be due by week 6 when you come back from break. Okay. It's not a long one, but it's a little bit more complex than the other ones that you've had. So instead of 5%, it'll probably be worth 10%. Okay. I'm just not ready to give it to you right now. It needs more work. Okay, let's kick off concept board because we kind of are using that stuff later. So for people who are on here and who are remote today and they want to communicate with us, let's take a look at this. I'm going to kind of pull up the board. I know some people love it, some people hate it, but it is what it is, right? I'm trying to make sure that there's another way we can communicate. And we got all kinds of extra stuff here that we're going to get rid of. So we're going to clean up the board a little bit because we don't need all this stuff. You can certainly join in. So I'm just going to go here to my pointer. So go to my eraser and erase this thing, and this thing, and this thing. So if you want to join me on concept board, I'm going to be asking you some questions and all that kind of stuff. So zoom in here. I got the red COMP228 today. How about that? As opposed to the yellow, right? We're changing colors just to be colorful. All right. And I'm also going to bring up my the stuff I was working on with you earlier, which is this PowerPoint presentation for lesson 4. And again, we're covering today kind of methods and objects from a different perspective. Kind of went about here. And we were talking about this this time class as an example. There was using a time class and how we were throwing exceptions. That's what we're going to do. We're actually handling exception handling today, where it's supposed to be covered later on. It's actually supposed to be covered on our agenda. They go deeply into exception handling closer to the last part of our of the course. Okay, but here's what we've covered from last time. So we created a scanner and we did a try catch block, and I kind of put up this thing that says system that out print line, please enter a positive number. So what I want to put out is I can't have a negative number either for age, right? I'm doing validation, right? Input validation here. So if I have a negative number for age here, right? How can I correct it? What do I do to fix that, right? I want to test to see that it's a negative number that I'm getting, right? Well, there's a problem. One, I'm doing it in this program. And this is my driver. Typically, we want to have a separate class to do that. So what I want to do is kind of create, let's say, an age class that allows me to input my age, and I could set age, as an age, or maybe some kind of person class that has an age. Might be better, right? So let's do that. So let's make a person class, which makes more sense, right? So here's my source. Right now, I have my program, and I'm going to add in a new class. Here it is, new class. And we're going to call it the person class. kind of a simple example again. The person class does not need a public static void main, right? So we're going to kind of click finish. And what it does is it gives us kind of this thing right here, right? I want to create a constructor. If I add in a constructor that's not the empty constructor, because remember, by default, Java provides the default empty constructor, right? So if I don't kind of put one in, it'll make one for me, right? But I want to kind of make them later on. I want to kind of override that in a bit. Two things that I want to put in. I want to kind of talk about private instance variables or fields. Those are my private instance variables. I need one of them right now. It's going to be of type, first of all, it's going to be private. And it's going to be of type int, because age, let's make it an integer for our numbers, right? That's what we've been doing. And we'll call this underscore age, right? So that is our integer variable that we have in here. I want to make a getter and setter method. And again, I want to use my source. I'm going to go to source, just clicking inside the class itself. And then I'm going to say generate getters and setters, which is down here. When I do that, it asks me what I want to generate. I want to use this one for the age variable. I want to put it after age. And it says sort by fields and getter and setter pairs. That's fine. Maybe I want to generate some comments too. Let's see if we can generate some comments this time. Just to play and press OK. There we go. So I've got a couple things here. I return the age, and this is my setter. The comments to me suck, right? So I'm just going to kind of put it in. This is my get accessor method, right? That's what it is. And I'm going to put a slash there. So it's called an accessor method, right? And sometimes what happens is the set, right, is also called a mutator method. We're going to mutate the option, right? So accessor and mutator is what you may hear again. So if I ever ask you on a test, accessor is the getter, mutator, the setter, right? Makes sense? So I've got like my my getters and my setters, and then what I have here is, as I go down, is I can modify then my age by using get age. I don't like get age and set age. I don't like it the way they put in here. So I want to rename them, right? Because I don't like the underscore. I like using the camel case. So get age and set age. That makes more sense to me. Also, I like to use this keyword when I access my variables, right? So it's more implicit. Actually, that's incorrect. Hold on a second. It's more implicit as to what's happening. Age. Look what's happening here. This is why it fooled me. Age is the local variable age, right? The local variable that it's incoming in set age, right? And I want to have this dot age, which is my private instance variable, my field, right, set to the value of age. Okay, so this is where we have a little bit more control. If I want to set age, right, and I want to check to see what the value is, if age is not a number, right, or whatever, before I set it, could I not do, because this is a method, could I not do a try catch block here, right? I want to set the age here, right? It's incoming. Could I not do a check or validation here in my setter? And the answer is absolutely. I could totally do that. So how do I do that? So remember that it's the same as always. So I can do a try catch, right, where I want to try and set this dot age is equal to age. I could do that, or I could just make a series of if statements. But I can do the series of if statements in a try catch block, because I can't say if this dot age is less than 0 if I get an X somehow, some weird number like that, because then it's going to error out, right? So let's try this. So first of all, let's go like this. If, we'll put an if statement, if this, or if age, right, not this dot age, but if age is less than 0, right, then what do I want to do? I want to throw out an exception. I want to kind of say, hey, whoa, somehow 0 has come to me, right? And it's impossible for me to have a 0. So I can throw an exception, and if I go throw, right? If you look at the PowerPoint presentation here, it gives you the format for how it's done. New, right? And then a type of exception, right? So let's go like this. So throw, new, and then what type of exception? If I press Control Space, right? It doesn't really tell me much in terms of our code hinting here. What about if I just said exception? Can I just do an exception? Can I just throw like a regular exception, right? Is that possible? Going back to the PowerPoint, if you notice, I'm going to throw out an exception. If I say illegal argument exception, that works, right? But if I go here, it gives me an error. And if I hover over, it says syntax error, insert a semicolon to block statements, right? I could do this. You can throw out an exception, but it's kind of giving me it's looking for some kind of parentheses, right? So open up parentheses. And I could do an exception, a new exception, which is what I'm calling. But now it's giving me an error. It says unhandled exception, type exception, 2 quick fixes, add throws declaration, surround with try catch, right? That's the option, right? Let's surround with try catch and see what happens. So this is what happens now. Automatically it says try to throw an exception, right? And catch the exception and print out what go print stack trace to see what the problem is. Me personally, I think this is a waste. So I'm going to undo all that. Let's try and do the other thing that it said. So illegal argument exception. We're going to put in a value of value less than 0 is enter. A value, an illegal value or value, age value, illegal age value, less than 0, entered. Right? Whatever you want to put in, something that's descriptive, right? That makes sense. So what this will generate for us is a message that goes to where would it go? It's not going to go to the console. It's going to interrupt our code if this happens, right? Make sense? So let's try this out. So now I got to instantiate my person class here. Here's my person class in here, right? So I want to get my age and I want to store it inside my person class. How do I do this? Well, if you notice, int my age, I've declared an age variable. I'm not going to do that anymore because I want to use my person class as a container, right? So we'll go over here and we'll say person, right, is equal to new person. I can do that because we have the empty constructor, right? And my lowercase person, whoever the person is, right, has an age, right? So now I can do something like this. Person dot set age, right, to what? Input dot this. We'll kind of copy this and put it in there, right? And do one of, when I reformat it to this. So input, so person dot set age to whatever the next input is. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to still put this in a try catch, right? I'm trying to put this in a try catch, but here's where it will fail this time, right? It's going to go out to my set age, and if it doesn't work, right, will it send out please enter a positive number? Here's the other one. I got to put the same thing here. Person, the getter now, person dot get age, right? That's what the thing that's going to print out, right? See how this all works, how this all plays out, and see if we have some kind of decency about this, right? Run this thing, enter your age. So I'm going to put it in a value, like we did before, 25. You enter 25. So that piece works. Now let's see if we make the error happen. Okay, so I'm going to enter a value. bring this up a little bit. And we'll enter a value of -1. Okay, now it says, please enter a positive number, right? Now it asks me for my age again, so I'm going to put in my age. So I'll put 35. Everything's fine. By the way, all those ages are lies for me, but you know, what the hell. So let's go put in a value of x, right? Please enter a positive number. How about -1? Please enter a positive number. How about gobbledygook, like this? Please enter a positive number. So you see, I can never get to it, even if I wanted to. With the way I formatted it right now, this person Java, this illegal thing will never come to this because I've got this in a try-catch loop, right? This try-catch block right here. See? This try-catch block is catching any error that makes no sense when I send it to my input. Okay, let's not do this now. Let's just take the try-catch out. So I'm just going to erase it for a second, just for laughs, right? And I'll do it instead of erasing it. What I'll do is I'll just I'll comment it out. Okay, so I'm going to comment out this line and these lines. So that I'll just put them in stasis for us, right? So we can get back to them later on. Okay, there we go. So I've commented out those lines. I'm going to get back there. And now let's see what happens when I go back to my class. So it says still enter your age, 25. I'm good to go. So it still goes to my class nicely. And when I make an error, if I go like X, now it says, whoa, exception in thread main, right? It doesn't know how to accept that because I'm asking for an integer and I'm giving it an X. Okay, so that's bad. Here's another one, right? Enter your age -1. Whoa, exception in thread main, illegal age value. There's my custom exception error. Illegal age value -0 and less than 0 entered. Different than the other one. Where it tells us at person set age 14 or 17. So a throw is a great way to do some good debugging, right? That's what it does. But really, what I want to do here is what I did before, is do some try catch block that catches my problem, right, and ask me again if I don't get the right value. Okay, so how do I check it for not only illegal numbers like numbers that are less than 0, as an example. Like if I enter a negative number, right, for my age, it should error out, right? It should stop me from doing that if my age is less than 0. But I don't want to do it here. I want to do it with my setter, right? So that's what's gonna come back, right? And the only way that it's going to be valid, right? I'm not going to check if is valid is true, right? If my valid entry or whatever, I could set my is valid as part of my person class. Is a valid person, right? As opposed to it's invalid, right? Because I'm trying to add stuff that doesn't make sense. The only way my person is going to be valid is if all his inputs are there. Otherwise, the person profile, if you will, is going to be invalid. Okay, so let's try this out. So let's go back to my person class, and now we'll add in a again a private instance variable that's going to be a Boolean type, right? And we're going to call it is valid, right? And my is valid Boolean, we're going to set this by default to false, right? Because right now when we first kick off, we don't have any information. We don't have enough information to make the person class valid. All we care right now is age. We're going to add in the other pieces after, right? So again, if I was going to go here, it says bool cannot be resolved to a type. Of course, I'm going to ask you this question again, right? Is it Boolean? Is it bool? Boolean? What is it? And this is where people get mixed up because I just went from C# right into Java, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking C#, bool, right? But it's not Java, it's Boolean. All right, so I'm setting it to false as a default, right? That's my default value, right? So my person right now by default is not valid. And now what I'm going to say is I'm going to check when I set my age. If my age is set correctly, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to throw this error anymore, right? If my age is less than 1, then we're going to say it's invalid, right? So we're going to say it's still invalid. We're asked for another age. We're going to say please enter system.out.println. We're not going to set it. Please enter a positive number, right? Or 0. We're not going to say 0 because typically people are on 0, right? They're 0.5 at least, or 0.1, something. And we're not asking for that. Okay, and that's the thing. So if age is less than 0, then we're going to do that. How about this? Else, if age is not less than 0, then we're going to set age, right? We can do this. Because if age is 0 or 1, because 0 could be valid, still a person just in the womb, right? As an example, let's say, if we accept that, then this is okay. We'll set the age. We're doing the checking in the setter, as opposed in the mutator method, as opposed to somewhere else. Now, this is a great place to wrap a try-catch, right? This is where we'll do our try-catch this time. So I'll do a try block, right, around my if-else. And then I'll do a catch where I have an exception. And then in my exception, I'll pump out something like system.out.println. Please enter a valid integer, an integer value. So there's two different things I'm asking for here. If age is less than 0, I'm trying to check if age is less than 0, and if it is, print out this. Otherwise, assign age. That's what this is happening right here. Let's see if this works. Now we have to modify my program class here, so I don't need to try catch anymore. And get rid of this because I'm doing it in my class. I don't need it as valid anymore because is valid. I'm going to read is valid, right? So let's go back. That's one thing we forgot to do. If I assign it, right, we're going to say that, this dot. I didn't make this underscore here. Let's change this to a proper naming convention. This dot underscore is valid. Here it is valid is equal to true if we assign it. I know it's a silly example. Now here we're directly accessing our property, right? But it's internal. The person outside, they can't see what's going on in here. But I want to make a read. I want to be able to read if it's valid or not. I don't want it to set from outside. So I want to create a read-only value, right? A getter only for my is valid method, right? So get is valid or read is valid. Maybe I'll just call it is valid with a capital I, because you can do that too, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to say right-click. I want to go down to source, and I'm going to say generate getters and setters, right? And I'm going to click on is valid this time, right? Now, if you open it up, you can choose if you want to use this, the setter or the getter, right? And if you notice this is valid, right? Here's the one. And then set is valid, right? Boolean. I don't want to set anything. So I want to get this one, this method here, right? Don't worry, I'm going to rename it in a second. Press OK. All right, so where did it put it? Here it is. So this is the get accessor method. For is valid, right? And this is for age. And this is the mutator method for age. That's a problem because I want my age. Some people like to put the getter accessors together, and they filter by all the getters and then all the setters. That's fine too. But I've got some work to do in my setter, so let's leave this the way it is. I just want to rename it. I don't want to say is valid. That makes no sense to me, right? So let's call it something else. Let's call it, you know, valid. Is it valid? Valid. I can say get is valid. How about that? Just to make it so that you guys, you know, it's kind of in line with what we normally do. And I'll put this, that underscore is valid. I'll use this keyword, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to read what if it's valid or not. Valid means like it's just a flag that says true or false. If I've entered everything correctly, then I'm going to score true. If I haven't, then it's false. And right now it starts off as false by default. Right, that's all that's happening. All right, let's go back to program. And what I want to do here, instead of checking is valid, which is a local variable, this Boolean variable right here, let's get rid of that. I have my person variable, and my person variable has whether it's valid or not. So I want to check to see if it's not valid. So as long as it's not valid, right, not person dot get valid, get is valid, right? The negative value of this, again, this could have been named differently and nicer. Then I want to be able to set it. Oh man, I don't have a setter. I can check, but I don't have a setter, which means I got to create one. Let's go back. So I want to set it down here, right? But that's not true. I'm not going to ever set it down here. I'm going to set it in my person class, so I don't ever have to do that. Okay, so while this is not valid, right? Then it's going to continue to scan and to read the age. Let's try this out and see if it works. So I'm going to read my age. So far, it's working. I want my age is 25. It works. My age is 25. It stops. Let's try it again. I want my age in there. My age is -1. Oh, please enter a positive number. That comes up. That's from the getter. And look what it does. It says you entered 0, right? See, that's bad, right? That didn't work, right? Because now that's another condition that I didn't figure out. I said, well, I checked. I didn't get the right value, but I still got to this point, right? You entered blah, blah, blah. Shouldn't this be a toString? That's what I should probably do. I should say, I should print out whatever my value is toString, right? If it's valid, right? So there's a couple ways I could do it. I don't want to read it. I want to basically say, well, we're not valid still. So because we're not valid, I can get is valid, then I could skip over this and not print it out. I could do that. Or I could create a toString method in my person class, right? Because all classes have a toString method by default. Because why? Why do all classes have a toString method? What are the 4 or 5 things that all classes have? Do you guys remember this? This is right from C#. Remember? Inheritance. We haven't touched this. We're going to talk about this next week. But what are all the major ones that every class has? Do you remember? Let's try it. If I do one of these, if I say this, if I go to my, we're going to make a constructor now underneath my mutator method, right? I'll make an empty constructor, and we're going to call it the person constructor, right? Person. Here it is, person constructor, an empty constructor. Let's put that in there. Just to test with, empty constructor. Okay, there's my empty constructor. And inside my person class, I want to check. I want to say this dot, and let's see what I get. Get class, clone, toString. Right there. toString is already built in, right? It's already built in. So I can use this method, right? Hash, I got age is valid, finalize, get age, get is valid, notify all, set agent, wait. Where are all these other ones coming from? Well, we're inheriting it from the object superclass, right? That's where it comes from. And you can see what it says here. This is where our object superclass, the Java object superclass, is where we're getting all this extra information. Like equals and toString are the main ones in hash code. So let's override our toString method, right? By creating something that's going to print out our object, right? So let's try this out. So we'll say, toString. So we'll say it's got to be public when we override. Public, right? toString, right? And my toString method gives me an error. So let's write over and see what it says. It says set method return type to void. That's one of the issues that I have. And is there anything else I need to do? It says change return type to toString to string, right? Because I'm returning a string. Okay, now what it says is, okay, this is cool. Now it says add return statement. I need a return statement because I can't return nothing. I got to return something. So I'm building this out, right? And I can't return null. I got to return something. Well, I want to return my age. And I want to return that statement that I have here, like something like, when I call the toString method, it does this, system.out.println, right? That's what that's going to show this string here, right? So you entered and the person's age, right? So that's what I'm going to put in. I'll say return you entered, and then, right, the person's age is going to be, it's got to be a string, this dot underscore age. So I can use it. It's inside it's private inside my object, right? And I'm returning it as a string when I call the toString method. So here, I'm overriding. I know I'm cutting it close here. Override. Overriding the toString method. So an override, I'm actually, what am I doing here? I'm using polymorphism, right? And inheritance. Inheritance means I have a toString method built in. Polymorphism, I'm changing what my toString method is, the built-in, the stock toString method to my own, which is you entered blah, 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 this age. Okay? Okay, now, this is good. These are good things. I never want to call my toString method unless, right, everything is valid. So this is what I'm going to say here. I'm going to say if person dot get is valid, right? That's positive. It's equal to true, basically, is what we're saying there. If that's true, then system.out.println, and instead of entering this, we're going to say person.toString. We're totally protecting, the value that we're going to output. There's no control over in the driver whatsoever. It's hidden. The mechanism is hidden inside of our class. Let's go back to our class for a second. I forgot to enter in a \n. Right? So \n. Yeah, this operates. So I'm going to run it. Say enter your age. I'm going to say it's 25. I'm good, right? You enter 25. This you enter 25, that's the first use of our lovely toString method. That's what's happening right now. Our toString method is pumping this out, right? It's part of our class. Why do I want that? It's better control, much more control inside my while loop, right? Than if I had it exposed here. I don't want to expose everything. My class should tell me what it outputs, right? Okay, let's do this one more time. So I'm going to go back to my person method here, and let me run it again one more time. Okay, enter your age. Let's run a -1. Now, please enter a positive number. And that goes back to please enter your age because there is no positive number, right? Now, you know what? This is looking pretty good, but I wanted to give me a space right now between the two. How do I do that? Go back to my program. Else, if it's not a positive number, right? It's something else. I can make more control for my output. Right, here's my control, and I can say system.out.println, and I'll add in a nothing, just a kind of a next, like a new line character. That's what it's going to add. Right, so let's try that again. So enter my age -1. No, please enter your age again. That's wrong. Okay, let's add in an X. Okay, now we get an exception, and this is where we're testing. Why am I getting an exception here? It wasn't working. It wasn't getting an exception before. Where am I getting the exception thrown? Right. Last time it was working just fine. Right. Here's my positive number. I enter an X. It says Exception in thread main, Java util input mismatch exception, right? I'm entering an X, and it's trying to get it right here. This scanner input right here. This is where I'm getting the error. I'm entering a problem, right? And before it even gets to here, this is what I was going to try and check with you guys, right? If it's going to try and do this, right? It's going to try and do this, but I'm getting an exception. It's throwing, please enter an integer value, right? So before it even gets there, because I'm using my scanner and it's an illegal value, I'm getting an error, right? Okay, so anybody have a suggestion? I can recode this to make it a little better. I want to use a try-catch block. I want to have more control in my class, and I want to have less of the mechanics outside in my driver class. What can I do? I want to use information hiding, that piece of the object-oriented programming and design technique, right? So what do? There's nothing wrong with putting another try-catch. That's the answer. You can layer try-catch upon try-catch. You can nest them all together. So I can always put that back. So I can say try. I can try and scan in, and if right here, just right here, like this, right? And if my just this piece here, just for the scanner alone, I can say catch, and here I can say invalid entry, something like that. And when I'm catching is a exception, local exception to this area here, called exception. I can say system.out.println. And it's not going to be valid, obviously, because I'm not going to change my valid value or whatever. It's not going to be valid. So I'm going to add that extra space in there anyway. I don't have to do that again. So I'm going to say something like this. It's going to say invalid entry. Right? Please try again. Now, we get an invalid entry. This try catch block is going to fire, right? Invalid entry. Please try again. Then it's going to try and do this. Right, my input dot next int. Here's something. Can I do this? Take a look. My scanner, because I'm defining it here, and I'm saying is a new scanner, right? In here, like we were asking before. If I do that here, it's only available inside my try catch block, right? So the only way I can do that is to put this whole try catch block around this whole thing again. Otherwise, I don't have access to my input because it's not part of my class. It's not up here. It's inside this while loop, and the while loop is inside my try catch block. It's a local variable to my try catch block right now. Okay, one more change, and then we're done. So putting it back the way it was. I'm going to kind of separate this, put this in here, and then reformatting it so that it's just indented a little bit, right? If that makes sense. Okay, let's try it out. So does this ever fire? Well, this one, well, can I ever get any other exception that's going to go to my set age ever, other than this checking if it's less than 0? And the answer is it can't. If I use a scanner that's part of my while loop, once I go by the scanner is the thing that generates the exception in the first place, right? Because I'm trying to enter in an illegal value. Once the illegal value is entered, I get this message right here in the bottom. And there's nothing that'll happen. It will stop execution before it even gets to the setter, right? So that's why we can't, this piece here, this try catch block, although it's nice, is useless.
Maybe because it doesn't work because we accept integer argument in the method, so string will never be accepted in the method.
Well, there's no, it's always in listening. This is always listening for an integer anyway, right? But this one you're saying is if I was to pull for a string, right? Instead of this one here, a next int, instead of next int, if I say next line and then convert it, whatever it is, that's another way I could do it. I can convert it into an integer. Take it, convert it into an integer, and if it's so, then the scanner won't have a problem because it's a string. I can enter anything I want, right? And then my conversion, if it doesn't work, that can happen in the try block inside my my person class, and then from there everything's okay. So let's do that way, just like you're suggesting. So I'll undo, undo, undo. And by the way, after this, I'll output it to the, I'll pump it out. So I won't put the try catch block at all. Watch. Let's get back to this place. And what I want to do is, instead of inputting for an integer, we'll pull for a next line, right? As an example. Because remember, there's different inputs we can look for. So next, right? I can go next line, right? Now that's a string that I'm getting, right? So person.setAge can't be a string. I got to convert this from a string to an integer, right? So can I send a string to setAge? No, because it's expecting an integer, right? But what if my setAge was listening for a string and converted it there, like up here? So setAge listening for a string, not an integer. So string age on com. And then when it gets it, I want to convert it, this string, from age, right? I can't do an age is less than 0 because that makes no sense, right? So I want to take my age string and convert it, and that's what I can do here in my try catch block. I can say age, so I can say my local variable string in my try catch block, string age, I'm sorry, integer age, n is equal to, let's see if I can do this, so %. Is it? So now that's different. Now this will work. Now I'm taking it in any string, and I'm trying to convert it to an integer. And if it doesn't convert, I'm going to say, hey, please enter an integer value, right? Even though I'm listening for anything I want. So here when I use the parse int method, I'm converting my string into an integer. So I'm taking the values and flipping them into an integer, right? And now if this can't happen in my try catch block, as an example, then the catch is going to fire off this please enter an integer value. Let's try this now. Complex, complex, complex. It looks to be, right? Okay, enter my age, -1. Please enter a positive number. Okay, cool. Let's enter a value of x. Please enter an integer value. That's good. So now it doesn't. And if I go like this, still says please enter an integer value. If I had to enter a proper integer, then it's over. So now that's the right way to do it. The only problem with this mutator method, all right, it's not traditional for 2 reasons. One, it's not taking in the same value as my field, right? My field is an integer. My mutator method takes in a string, right? So right there's got to be a conversion that happens, and that conversion, right, is the thing that can click off my my try catch block. But at least I have more validation. And remember, when you're making an application, we're going to talk more about exception handling later on. But when you make an application, the biggest problem to an application is user input. Because our user input, you never know what they're going to enter in. They might enter in some kind of address. They might enter in some code, right? They might try and break your code with their input, right? Whatever they enter in, like for example, let's try and break our code by entering some kind of code. Like for example, you know, integer, try that, like an actual code, integer, you know, parse int x, right? Or sorry, we'll make it x. And I put a semicolon and all that and press enter, right? Like an actual piece of code, will that break it? And the answer is right now, no, it won't. Like it's just accepting it as string values, which is okay, right? But there are some places where you can add in some code, and it's like almost like this how we do SQL injection, right? Where we can, you know, break a system or change a pattern, return different values, do different things. We don't want to do that, right? Now we can't modify the code because it's compiled, it's not interpreted. So this is pretty cool. Okay, one more thing before we stop. I want to create a menu. We did this before in C#. How do I create a menu that kind of comes up and says, enter your age, right? And then maybe enter other things too. Enter my age. I want to exit. I want to continue, and maybe enter my age again. You know, and then if I don't enter the right value, it's going to clear. You know, that kind of thing. How do I do that? So in my program.java, that's where the menu goes. So how do I create a menu? Well, this is pretty good. My person.get is valid is a good check to see if I'm getting the right valid input for my person. I don't create my menu yet. Oh yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. So let's go right click. I'm going to go to team, and I'm going to go to commit, and I'm going to say added person class. And we'll add in the person class, and I'll say commit and push, and now you guys have that all on GitHub. For the people that are watching online, let's check and see if they've been using Concept Board. I got one person here. You're on Concept Board with me. Everyone else not here, right? So again, what I want to do is I want to create a menu. How do I create a menu where we're asking me for please enter this value, enter your age, or 1, enter your age, 2, exit. One of those type of things. And depending if I enter 1 or 2, then it's going to enter my age or exit. How do I do that in my code?
Switch inside a loop.
Switch inside a loop. And I'm going to use what kind of loop? While loop. While I'm not getting a 2. While my value, my prompt is not a 2, right? Then keep on asking, right? Okay, let's try that out. So I'm going to put a while loop on the outside of my while loop, right? Do that. Every time is once. So if I do and I press Control space, it says do a do while loop, right? And it gives you the little code snippet here, right? So Control space does that in Eclipse. If I double click, bam, I got my do while loop with my condition. And my condition is if my prompt, while my prompt is not a 2. If my prompt is a 2, I'm just deciding 2 is the value, right? Then it'll exit out, right? So let's try this out. So I'll say, so while prompt, I don't have a prompt yet, but I'm plotting it out. My prompt is not equal to 2. So not equal to 2, exactly 2. I don't have prompt. We'll declare what prompt is. We'll say prompt, right, is of type string. That's the string prompt. If it's a string, then it can't be it has to be either a 1 or a 2, right? But what if it's some other value? So we're going to go back to the whole try-catch block again thing, almost like a try-catch block for the inputs, right? From my scanner. So let's think about this for a second. So what if I enter an X, right? If I'm listening for a 2 or something weird like on my scanner, it's going to error out again, right? Any suggestions? So there's a couple of things I can think of. One, let's make the prompt. If we make a prompt a string, a string prompt, right? And the string starts off as null, right? So we'll just initialize it to the null value as an example. So we have our value, and this can't be equal to 2 because it's an integer. So we have to convert it. So we're going to say integer parse int. Could do that too. Could do that too. Sure, we'll make it easy. I like your thinking, Ravina. We'll follow Ravina's example. If it's not equal to 2, we're making a comparison. Is this really going to do a proper comparison between strings? Huh?
In Java, we use function.
Can I compare it? Can I compare the two values like this?
Compare the two strings with the operator, but you use dot equals function.
The equals function. So prompt
Dot equals.
dot equals, right? Because prompt is a string. So dot equals, right? And inside my objects, I'll put the 2. So, but is it? It's not equals to 2, right? So I don't put the not equals in there. I put it to 2, right? Huh? Say it again. Right. That's correct. Okay. Because that kind of, so not equals to 2. So it doesn't equal to 2. That's not a great way of doing it, by the way. So if it's not, as long as it's not equal to 2, keep going. All right. All right. So what we're going to ask for, we're going to say system.out.println then, and we're going to say, please make a selection. And we're gonna kind of define what the menu is going to look like. System.out. We're going to say maybe some kind of characters to separate it, make it fancy. Right? Come on. We're going to use this again, by the way. That's why I'm making it right now with you guys. Out.println up. I made it a little differently, but I'll follow your suggestions. No problem. So 1. Enter your age, right? And system.out.println. 2. Exit. System.out.println. There's a little menu. Okay, so it's going to loop around until we're going to keep printing this out until it's like that, right? Okay, now we're going to do a switch statement inside the do loop, right? So here's my switch statement. We're going to switch what? The value, which is going to be our prompt, right? And we want to say case, right? Let me go back for a second. Let me show you the quick way of doing it again. So if I go switch, if I press Control Space, it gives me the switch statement, and there's the default, right? So I'm going to double click there, and it's going to give me a switch statement. The key is a prompt, and my value is my case. So case is 1. Case 1. Then we're going to call this function here, right, which we haven't defined yet. We're going to call this function. What should I call this function, and how do I define it? Here's my function, right? This method, if you will, right? I'm going to make a method. I'm going to surround this thing by a method. Is there a quick shortcut in Eclipse to extract this as a method? Right click. If I highlight everything, right click, and I go, if I go refactor, and if I go extract method, right? Then it's going to extract it, and I can name the method with whatever I want, right? So I can call this method, as an example, like a set age method or something like that. Set age, right? And if you notice, it says generate method comments. I can do all this other stuff, but it's going to say, this is what it's going to be called: private static void set age. It's going to accept the person as a reference, right? My person being a reference type because it's a class. It's going to be passed into my method in order for me to call it. Let's press OK. This is discouraged according to convention. Names of methods should start with a lowercase letter. Continue. So here's my set age, right? Here's my set age method that is defined for me. And here's my actual method call. I'm going to take this and put it inside my switch statement, right? So I'm setting age my person, right? That's what I'm doing. And then I'm calling this whole little method here, this set age thing, so that way I can, while it's trying, it's going to keep trying to enter the age, right? So it's going to do that whole step we did earlier by asking again and again, enter, 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 right? Okay, and then the default, I don't have a default case. Now, here's a question for you. Do you know in Java, do you need a default case? Can I remove it? Or would it be invalid? I can or can't? Can? Let's take it out. You think? Okay. What about case 2? Case 1, we set age. Case 2, what happens? Right? Case 2, nothing. Case 2, break. So we'll put that in there too. Case 2, let's say case 2, then we're going to break up. We're not going to do anything for case 2. What's that? It's going to exit right now. Look. I don't have to exit anything. Let's try this out. Run this code, and then I get this non-stop entry. Come. It's going to keep on firing this thing forever and ever, right? So I keep on asking me for a prompt, right? Well, there's a reason why, because we haven't asked for a prompt yet, right? So we forgot that piece. Let's go back. So we're asking for a prompt. We've declared it up here, but we haven't actually listened for it. We got to listen for it before we get it, which would be here. So this is where we declare another scanner, right? That we're going to add in, right? Now we can make it local, just like we did before, to our call here. So we can do right here. We can say scanner input is equal to new scanner. Just do a new one right there. That's nothing to do with the other scanner, because remember, it says so add argument to match. Oh, of course, the system.in. And once we've done that, we can do this. We can say prompt then, right, is equal to input dot next line. Once we've done that, we're going to get an input. It's going to be a string. We're going to compare it with the prompt, right? And if it says 1 or a 2, right? If it's a 1, it's going to set the age. If it's a 2, it's going to break, right? Otherwise, what is it going to do? It's going to do nothing, right? It's going to just regenerate this whole thing again. Let's see if that works. Okay, so here's my little menu, right? And I'm going to enter another number like H, right? How about a T? How about a 4? How about a 2? Over, right? Let's try it again. How about 1? Enter my age. Now we go to the age entering thing, 25, right? And I can go 2 to exit, right? So it allows me to go through that menu over and over again. But when I've entered my age, there's something else that's going on here. I enter my age, right? You know what? I want to send not only my age to this set age, but also my prompt, right? Because if I've entered my age, it should exit from my menu, unless I want to keep entering my age over and over again, depending on what I want to do, right? So I could send that as another argument to my set age method here in my program class, right? All right, again, this is all academic. I want to talk about this menu thing because we're going to need a menu because we're going to get more complex with the stuff we're doing, okay? And one more thing. What about if I don't enter a proper value, right? Then if it gets past these two, it doesn't break through the while loop, when I get down to the bottom, what do I want to do? I want to clear my screen. How do I clear my screen? I want to clear up my screen. How do I clear my screen with my my console, right? Because remember, we did this last time. We did kind of a system.out.println. Is there a way of clearing my screen, right? That? Flush is flushing the print stream. It's nice idea, but no. Is there a clear instead of a print? So can I do something like, oh, there's close. How about I want to print a clear command. How do I clear the screen? Can someone look it up on Google? How do I clear the screen? Clear the console is what I'm trying to do in Java. Clear screen Java. That's what I would probably search for. And again, the idea here is that, let me see who's got the first come up. I'll actually go to yes.
Brackets, quotation, CL.
Like this, system.cls. All capitals. Understand? I've never seen it that way. System CLS. I never seen that before. I like your idea, but
It says another runtime block, yes, runtime block,
execute
execute CLS.
CLS. Okay, that's time. We're using a time statement. Is that what you said? Runtime. All right. What else? Is there another one? I want to do a clear screen, clear console.
It's no like simple syntax.
Come on. Now I have to look it up because you know I'm my Google Fool is strong, right? Let's try this out. No.
For Windows, it's
Clear screen,
for
Java.
system it's clear.
Let's see. Clear the console, Stack Overflow. This is your response there. Nice idea. Here's 11 answers. They come up with runtime.get runtime.execute CLS or clear with if it's Mac or the two. If OS is Windows, then do this. If else, do this. That's the option, right? Is that the only way it can be done? And look how it's 41 answers, right? But there's a lot of people who don't really agree that, you know, I mean, again, we're using a console, right? So if I was going to take this code the way it is, this clear console stuff, right? And what do they do? They called it clear console, right? This is actually a method that we can add in. So let's just take this whole method and see if this is correct, right? And I'll drop it down below, over here, below my my set age, right? And include it in my method. Here it is, public final static clear console. I don't know if you have to do a public final static void, but that's fine. And we're going to do a clear console here. Here's our clear console command. All right, let's see if that works. So this is our set age, set person's age, and this is clear the console. See if that works. All right, so we start off, blah, 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 blah. I put in some gobbledygook and enter your age. Clear console didn't do nothing. Right? Let's try, because I'm calling clear console here, right? And if you notice, it goes down right down here to this thing here. It says making a try, system get property OS name, and if it's Windows, blah blah blah. If it's else, do it clear, and there's nothing. So this get runtime doesn't do anything.
System.out not flush.
Did it work? Sorry, what were you saying? On concept board? Let's see. Let's see what you say on concept board. Final static string. Oh, the sequence, character sequence. And system.out.print escape +2, the sequence. And is that what do it right here? Final static string escape is equal to.
If they say that your console supports KNSI escape characters, then it should be used.
That's, I don't know. I'm in doubt of that one. Does it work? Final static string escape, no. I wouldn't recommend. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't recommend this one. You're going to use escape sequence. Well, the answer is, and going back here, and if I print a 1, it still works, right? But if I press exit, it kind of comes out. If I press something else, and I fire off some kind of gobbledygook, it doesn't clear. So how do I clear my console? Let's try one more time. I'll search one more time before I use yours. Java clear console. If it allows me to go, because you know how it is with these crazy things. How to delete stuff printed to the console by system.out. Let's see if there's an answer here. You could print the backspace character a bunch of times, as many times as the characters which were printed. That's an ugly solution. US, what is it? B. Yeah, you go backspace, backspace. You can also do get runtime. This one here, runtime to get runtime execute CLS, but that's only for Windows. Yeah, like we said before. This is going back to our solution here. Runtime get runtime, right? Knowing that I'm a Mac, right? If I go here to my console and press a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to go ls, and if I press clear, it works in my console here in the Mac, right? That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to do this command. So if I just replace this command here for a second, that won't run on Windows. But let's say for a second, when I get down here, I want to clear the screen. So if it gets by this, I want to clear the screen. So I'm not going to call that other function, right? Here's something that happens too. It says, if I kind of run a space over, it says unhandled exception type IO exception. And that's why they surround with try catch. Okay, fine. Here it is. Just in case it's a stack trace or whatever, it's going to try and run this executable. Let's try this for a second and run this. And I'm going to get the exact same thing as I got before when I run this and that. No difference, right? Because the stack trace is incorrect, right? Stuck. So the reason why I'm bringing it up, there's a couple of reasons, is because we can do this nicely in C#. We did it nicely. We can do it easily, right, in C#. But you can't do it easily here in Java. And it looks ugly, but remember, our console is just that. It's a console, right? When we get into, not next week, but the week we come back from break, we're going to get into UI, right? It's a little nicer. We don't have to worry about the console so much. We can control the output a lot more, and we don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. So can you do a really nice menu? Chances are not. I don't see a good solution. Here's another one, runtime get runtime exec CLS, right? You guys are putting that up. Doesn't work. Does it work for you? How about this? You try it. Does it work for you in your system in front of you when you run it? Let's save everything, and we'll delete this little statement here. And you know what? We wasted all kinds of time doing this clear console stuff. We'll just get rid of it. And then I'll save it to, I'll pump it out to GitHub for you with our solutions. So I'll do that right now. So I'm going to say, we'll go to team. We'll say commit, and we'll say added simple menu, right? And then we will commit and push. So now it's up on GitHub for you guys. And we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we'll continue with some of this more interesting stuff.